Commander Leora stood at the edge of the alien forest, her silver armor glinting under the twin suns. She could feel the strange energy of the planet beneath her feet. The trees shimmered with an inner light, and the air vibrated softly, almost like the world itself was alive. The Zareth Dominion had sent her here because a small human settlement had appeared suddenly in the northern valley. It was unusual. Humans rarely ventured so far into Zareth space without guidance, and the Dominion considered them weak, primitive, and expendable. Leora's claws tapped the ground impatiently as she surveyed the small camp in the distance. Simple structures made from wood, stone, and unfamiliar metals dotted the clearing. Smoke rose from small cooking fires. Humans moved about calmly, carrying water, tending gardens, and speaking in a language she didn't understand, but somehow their presence unsettled her. They were smaller than her people, yes. Their bodies were fragile-looking compared to Zareth warriors, and their technology seemed almost laughably basic. But there was something else, something she couldn't quite name. She expected to see fear in their eyes as she approached, maybe even panic. What she saw instead made her pause. A human boy, no older than 10, waved at her from near a water fountain. He smiled a simple open smile and ran to hide behind an adult woman, who laughed softly at the child. Leora's head tilted. She had seen humans before, on trade routes or battlefields, but they usually cowered. Even the strongest humans she had met in combat still showed signs of nervousness. This was different. She stepped forward, her heavy boots crushing the soft grass. The humans did not run. They did not raise weapons. They simply kept working, talking, and smiling. One older man even waved back at her, nodding as if she were an expected guest rather than a threat. Leora's instincts screamed at her. This was unnatural. She had been trained to inspire fear, to dominate through presence alone. And yet here, in this strange little valley on the edge of known space, she felt curiosity. Her communicator buzzed. It was Admiral Terran, back on the Zareth flagship. Commander Leora, what is the status of the target? The Admiral's deep voice demanded. They are calm, Leora replied, her voice tight with confusion. I do not understand. The humans are smiling. They do not fear me. Do not underestimate them, Terran warned. Humans are weak. They will panic or flee. Do not let their smiles fool you. Complete your mission. Observe, report, and prepare for extraction if necessary. Yes, Admiral, Leora said, though a flicker of doubt passed through her. She ended the transmission and looked at the humans again. One of them, a tall man with brown hair and warm eyes, stepped forward from the center of the camp. He held his hands open in greeting. Welcome, he said in perfect Zareth common. His voice was calm, steady, and oddly confident. We've been expecting you. Leora's claws flexed instinctively, ready for attack. You speak Zareth? She asked, suspicious. The man nodded. We learned your language before you arrived. We like to be prepared. Leora raised an eyebrow. Prepared for what? For you, he said simply. He smiled, and for the first time in her life, Leora felt the tiniest stir of something unfamiliar. Respect, perhaps, or curiosity. Her combat instincts told her to strike immediately, to show dominance and test their fear. But she hesitated. Something about the humans' calm confidence made her pause. Humans were supposed to panic. That was their nature. And yet here they stood, smiling, welcoming, and unafraid. Step closer, the man said, noticing her hesitation. We mean no harm. My name is Captain Aaron. I lead this settlement. We do not fight unless we must, but we do not run either. Leora studied him, analyzing his posture, his stance, the way he held his hands. There were no hidden weapons, no tricks. And yet, she sensed strength, not the raw power of muscle or claws, but a quiet, steady strength that radiated from him like sunlight. You are brave, she said cautiously. Bravery was rare among humans, especially around beings like her. Most would cower at the sight of a Zareth warrior. Aaron shook his head. We don't cower. We prepare. We help each other. That is what makes us strong. Leora tilted her head, considering this. Her entire life had been about power, domination, and fear. Yet here, she saw humans operating differently together, calm, resilient. It was puzzling. A young girl approached Aaron, holding a small basket of fruits. She offered it to him, and then to Leora. Here, she said softly. You look tired. Please eat. Leora stared at the girl. She expected fear, or maybe trembling. Instead, she saw trust. That tiny gesture and offer of food to someone she could crush in an instant was bold. It was human. Do not eat with strangers, Leora said cautiously, though she did not step back. Aaron laughed softly. Then consider it a welcome gift. No expectations. Just welcome. Leora's eyes narrowed. She did not understand these creatures. Their behavior was illogical by all Zareth standards, and yet she could not deny that it intrigued her. There was something in their simplicity, their courage, their kindness, something she had never encountered before. Suddenly a loud crash echoed from the forest edge. Leora's claws snapped out, ready to attack. From between the glowing trees, a massive creature emerged, its body covered in thick scales, eyes glowing red, and claws sharp enough to tear through metal. The humans panicked, but only for a moment. Aaron stepped forward calmly, raising a hand. Everyone, stay calm. We've dealt with this before. Leora blinked. She expected screaming, running, chaos, but instead, the humans moved with precision. Some grabbed nets, others made noise to distract the creature, and a few worked to guide it back into the forest. It was controlled chaos, and it worked. The creature, after a tense struggle, retreated without harming a single human. Leora's jaw tightened. These humans were physically weaker, yes, but their minds and hearts were formidable. She had expected fear, but what she saw was strategy, courage, and calm under pressure. Aaron turned to her once the danger passed. See, humans are not perfect, but we do not panic. That is why we survive. Leora stared at him. For the first time, she wondered if she had underestimated this species. Her mission had been to assess humans as weak, expendable, and to report back with confirmation. Yet here she stood, doubting everything she had been taught. The sun began to set, painting the valley in shades of gold and violet. The humans gathered around small fires, laughing and talking. Leora remained standing, observing, learning. She noticed the bonds between them, the way they supported each other, shared resources, and celebrated small victories. It was inspiring. Aaron approached her again. You can stay for the night. No one will harm you. You are a guest here. Leora hesitated. Zareth doctrine warned against trusting humans. Yet the offer felt genuine. Something inside her, buried under years of training, whispered that these humans were different. Not weak, not helpless, but alive in a way she had never seen before. She nodded slowly. I will stay, she said. And as she sat by the fire for the first time in her life, without armor or weapon raised, she realized something remarkable. She was not afraid. For the first time, a human smile had reached her, and it had changed everything. The night in the human settlement was calm. Soft golden lights flickered from small fires, casting shadows across the tents and wooden buildings. The air smelled faintly of cooking herbs, warm bread, and smoke. Leora, the Zareth commander, had expected this human camp to be chaotic, unorganized, or at least tense. Instead, it was peaceful, almost welcoming. Captain Aaron noticed her lingering near the edge of the firelight. He approached, careful not to seem threatening. You're quiet tonight, he said, his voice gentle. Do you sleep? Leora tilted her head. I do not sleep often. I observe, I analyze. She had always considered observation a form of power, a way to dominate by understanding weaknesses. But here, she felt something strange. She observed humans, and instead of weakness, she saw resourcefulness, resilience, and cooperation. Aaron smiled. Then perhaps you'll like to see more of how we live. Leora studied him. She had expected hostility, deception, or fear. Instead, she found honesty and confidence. Very well, she said, keeping her voice measured. They walked through the settlement. Leora noticed how humans worked together without orders from a single leader. One group repaired a broken water pipe. Another tended the gardens. A few children played nearby, watched over by older humans. Everyone had a role, yet no one seemed stressed or afraid. Aaron spoke softly as they walked. Humans survive because we adapt. We find solutions instead of panicking. We protect each other. That is more important than strength alone. Leora frowned. You are physically weaker than my people. You lack our speed, our strength, and our weaponry. How do you believe you can survive in a galaxy that is harsh and dangerous? Aaron stopped and looked at her. His eyes were calm, almost amused. Strength is not only about muscles or weapons. It is also about courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Humans have these in abundance. Leora was silent. She had spent her entire life relying on her natural power, her combat training, and fear to dominate. Yet here was a human, smaller, weaker in every obvious way. Claiming that he was strong and he had the calm confidence to prove it. Do you fight? She asked cautiously. Aaron shook his head. We avoid unnecessary conflict. But when we must defend ourselves, we do it with strategy, not force alone. Our minds, our hearts, and our unity make us resilient. You saw that with the creature tonight, did you not? Leora's claws flexed. She remembered the massive beast that had emerged from the forest. The humans had been calm, coordinated, and effective. Not one had been harmed, and the creature had retreated without anyone striking it with deadly force. Even a Zareth warrior like her could not deny the humans' cleverness. They survived. But with luck, she said, though the words felt hollow. Aaron shook his head. It was not luck. It was preparation and understanding, and they helped each other. That is what made the difference. Leora considered his words. She had observed humans in battle before, and many had panicked or run. These humans were different. They were brave. Not because they did not feel fear, but because they acted despite it. As they walked further, Leora saw a young woman carrying a crate of food toward the storage tent. She struggled under the weight, and another human immediately rushed to help her. Together, they carried it safely inside. Why do they help each other? Leora asked. In my people, only the strong survive. The weak are left behind. Aaron glanced at her. Because survival is more than strength. It is about community. Alone a human may fall. Together, we can overcome almost anything. Leora's thoughts churned. The Zareth way was dominance, power, and fear. The human way was kindness, courage, and teamwork. And it worked. These humans were small, fragile, yet capable of surviving and thriving in ways she could not yet understand. They reached a clearing in the settlement, where a small fire burned. Around it, humans gathered to share stories, teach skills, and play simple instruments. Children laughed as adults told tales of clever escapes, heroic deeds, and lessons learned. Aaron gestured to a small human boy practicing balance on a narrow log. Observe, he said. He is learning skill through patience, repetition, and guidance. Not brute force, not dominance. This is how humans prepare for life. Leora's eyes followed the boy. He stumbled but quickly regained his balance, encouraged by the others. She felt admiration. She had never considered patience a form of strength. Suddenly, a loud bark echoed from the edge of the settlement. A human dog, small but fierce, had spotted movement in the forest. Humans nearby moved quickly but calmly, forming a protective circle around the children and elders. Leora watched closely. Unlike her expectations, the humans did not flee or panic. Instead, they used tools, signals, and clever positioning to keep everyone safe. When the source of danger, a pack of wild animals, approached, humans created distractions, guided the creatures away, and ensured no one was harmed. Aaron stood beside her, watching. Notice how they act. Not with raw force, but with strategy, teamwork, and courage. That is what humans are capable of. Leora's jaw tightened. She had expected fear. She had expected chaos. Instead, she saw resilience, cleverness, and determination. The humans had survived every threat tonight without relying on brute strength. She turned to Aaron. And you believe this is enough to survive in the galaxy? In wars, in conflicts with species far stronger than humans? Aaron nodded. We adapt. We learn. We survive. That is how humans have endured for thousands of years, despite being smaller, weaker, and fewer in number than many other species. For the first time, Leora felt a sense of respect for humans she had never imagined. They were not weak. They were resourceful, courageous, ingenious, and they smiled through danger instead of cowering. The night deepened. Leora and Aaron walked to the edge of the settlement, overlooking the valley. Stars glittered above, distant and cold. Leora's mind was restless. Her mission had been simple. Observe humans, confirm they were weak, and report back. Yet everything she had seen tonight contradicted her expectations. Aaron spoke softly. Do you see why we smiled when you arrived? We are not afraid, because fear alone does not control us. We act with reason, courage, and care. That is what keeps us alive. Leora nodded slowly. She had expected fear, but instead, she had seen confidence, intelligence, and kindness. And she had realized that these qualities could be more powerful than physical strength. A cool wind rustled the trees. Leora stood silently, absorbing everything she had witnessed. Humans were a paradox, fragile, yet unyielding. Simple, yet clever. Small, yet capable of inspiring respect and even a Zereth warrior. Aaron watched her closely. Do you understand now? Strength comes in many forms. Fear is not the only measure of power. Humans survive because we embrace life, support each other, and never give up. Leora's eyes softened. She remembered the small girl who had offered her food, the children learning balance, and the humans guiding the wild animals safely back to the forest. She realized that strength was not always about domination. It could be about courage, resilience, and kindness. For the first time, she felt something new. Hope. Hope that humans could thrive in a galaxy that often saw them as weak. Hope that maybe, just maybe, she could learn from them instead of judging them. Aaron smiled, reading her thoughts. Tomorrow, I will show you how we prepare for challenges you cannot yet imagine. But tonight, rest, observe, learn, understand. Leora nodded again. She lowered herself onto the ground, sitting near the fire as humans laughed, talked, and shared stories. For the first time, she did not feel fear or suspicion or superiority. She felt curiosity, respect, and a strange sense of belonging. As the fire crackled and the humans settled for the night, Leora realized a simple truth. She had expected fear, but the humans simply smiled. And that smile was more powerful than any weapon she had ever known. The morning sun rose slowly over the valley, casting long shadows across the human settlement. Birds chirped, and the air smelled of fresh dew and smoke from small cooking fires. Commander Leora stood at the edge of the camp, watching the humans begin their daily routines. She had expected chaos, confusion, or at least disorder, but the settlement moved with quiet precision. Aaron approached her with a small cup of steaming liquid. Tea, he said simply. It helps focus the mind. Leora accepted it with a nod, careful not to reveal any appreciation. She had learned long ago that showing emotion was often a weakness in the eyes of others. Yet as she watched the humans move through their day working, teaching, helping, she felt something unfamiliar. It was a mix of admiration and curiosity, and she did not know how to process it. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground. At first it was small, almost imperceptible. Then the earth rumbled violently, and trees swayed dangerously. The humans immediately reacted, but not with panic. Their movements were coordinated, purposeful. Aaron grabbed Leora's arm. "Follow me. Stay calm and observe." Leora's claws flexed instinctively, ready to strike at anything dangerous. She had expected fear to spread among these humans, but instead, she saw efficiency. One group guided children and the elderly to a safe clearing. Another reinforced the structures that were beginning to wobble. A third group ran quietly to secure animals and food supplies. "What is happening?" Leora asked, though she could already see the signs. Earthquakes were rare on this planet, but the settlement sat near tectonic fault lines. The humans were handling it as if it were routine. Aaron nodded. "We prepare for the unexpected. Nature can be dangerous. We respect it, but we do not fear it." The tremors grew stronger. Dust fell from the structures, and a few small fires broke out near storage tents. Humans immediately coordinated again. Some formed chains to carry buckets of water. Others worked together to stabilize buildings. Even the youngest children were instructed to stay in safe zones, guided by older siblings. Leora observed closely. Her mind, trained for combat and domination, had never witnessed efficiency like this in humans. In battle, she had seen panic, hesitation, and mistakes. Here, humans worked together under pressure, remaining calm, clever, and organized. They were surviving not through raw strength, but through intelligence and cooperation. A loud crash echoed as a tree, weakened by the tremor, began to fall toward the central storage area. Leora moved instinctively, ready to leap and save anyone in danger. But before she could act, two humans, one taller and one smaller, ran forward, using ropes and levers to redirect the tree safely into a clearing. Not a single person was harmed. Aaron looked at her with quiet satisfaction. "Do you see? Humans are not strong like Xerath warriors. But we survive because we think, plan, and act together. That is strength." Leora's jaw tightened. She had expected fear, screams, and chaos. Instead, she saw calm, courage, and quick thinking. Humans were small and fragile, yet capable of remarkable ingenuity. The tremors lasted for several more minutes. Fires were quickly put out, structures reinforced, and everyone accounted for. The settlement was shaken, but it stood. No lives were lost. The humans had handled a natural disaster that would have crushed many species unprepared for it. Aaron placed a hand on Leora's shoulder. "Do you understand now? Survival is more than power. It is resilience, cooperation, and courage. Humans thrive because we use our minds and our hearts." Leora's mind whirled. The Xerath way was dominance, strength, and fear. The human way was cleverness, courage, and care. And it worked. These humans were proving something she had never expected. As the sun climbed higher, the settlement began repairs. Leora joined the humans cautiously, assisting with tasks where her strength could help. She lifted heavy beams with ease, moved fallen debris, and helped rebuild small structures. The humans accepted her help without hesitation or fear, even smiling as they worked together. A young boy ran past her, laughing. "Commander, watch me climb." Leora glanced at him and saw the boy scaling a tree with surprising agility. His eyes shone with excitement, not fear. She realized that these humans were not fragile, they were daring, clever and fearless in ways her people often underestimated. Aaron approached again. "We will have visitors soon. Other species may come to test us. We must be ready, but not with violence alone. Observe, plan, and act with courage." Leora nodded. "And if they attack?" she asked cautiously. Aaron smiled. "Then we defend ourselves. But we do it intelligently. We use our minds, our teamwork, and our understanding of our environment. You will see soon." Later in the afternoon, scouts reported movement at the forest's edge. A group of Xerath Dominion soldiers was approaching, likely sent to observe or intimidate the human settlement. Leora's instincts told her to prepare for conflict, but she remembered what she had witnessed today. These humans did not panic. They would handle this threat not with brute force alone, but with strategy. The humans gathered quickly. Aaron spoke calmly. assigning roles to each person. Some reinforced defensive positions. Others prepared distractions and traps. A few moved quietly to monitor the approaching soldiers. Every action was precise and coordinated, showing an understanding of tactics that relied on intellect, not just strength. Leora followed closely. She had expected to see fear and chaos. Instead, she saw courage, clarity, and purpose. She realized that humans could face superior forces because they did not rely solely on physical power. They relied on their minds and hearts. The Zereth soldiers emerged from the forest. Their weapons were raised, their expressions stern. They had expected to intimidate or frighten the humans. But the humans remained calm, confident, and ready. They had prepared for this moment with thought, planning, and courage. Aaron stepped forward to meet the soldiers. His voice was steady. "We mean no harm. You may observe, but you will not endanger anyone here." The Zareth soldiers hesitated, unprepared for this response. Leora noticed a flicker of uncertainty among them. Humans, though smaller and seemingly weaker, exuded confidence and courage that unsettled even her trained comrades. One soldier attempted to advance aggressively. A clever trap set by the humans redirected his path, causing him to stumble harmlessly. The humans did not strike him. They used intellect, planning, and strategy to neutralize potential threats. Leora stepped forward herself. Standing beside Aaron, she had a choice: follow the Dominion soldiers blindly or defend the humans who had shown her the strength of their courage. Her mind made the decision before her heart could protest. She raised her hand, signaling the soldiers to halt. "This settlement is under my observation," she declared. "Do not harm them. You will leave, or I will stop you." The Zereth soldiers blinked in surprise. Leora, smaller and weaker than many of her comrades in raw strength, stood confidently. Her command was clear and her reasoning undeniable. The humans had survived not because of weapons, but because they inspired allies of Enzareth warriors to protect them. After a tense moment, the soldiers withdrew. The humans remained calm, guided by Aaron's leadership and their own preparedness. Not a single person had been hurt. The settlement had endured a real stand it had passed. Leora turned to Aaron. "I underestimated your people," she admitted. "I expected fear. What I see is something far stronger," Aaron smiled. "Fear is not always the measure of strength. Humans survive because we act despite fear. We cooperate, we think, and we endure. That is our power," Leora nodded, feeling a mix of admiration and humility. She had spent her life believing strength was muscle and weaponry. But these humans had shown her that courage, intelligence, and teamwork could triumph where brute force might fail. As the sun set again over the valley, Leora stood among the humans, watching them prepare for the night. They laughed, talked, and shared stories, even after the threat had passed. Their resilience was inspiring. She realized something profound. Humans were not weak. They were capable of extraordinary bravery, cleverness, and endurance. For the first time, Leora truly understood what Admiral Terran could not see. Humans could thrive not by dominating, but by surviving, adapting, and working together. Their smiles, their courage, and their intelligence were weapons far sharper than claws or armor. And Leora, the Zereth warrior trained to dominate through fear, had learned a new truth. Strength is not always visible. Sometimes it is found in the mind, the heart, and the will to never give up. The night was quiet, but tension hung in the air like a storm cloud. Commander Leora stood at the edge of the human settlement, looking toward the forest where the previous Zereth patrol had disappeared. Though the humans had handled the last encounter brilliantly, Leora knew the galaxy was not done testing them. Other Dominion forces could arrive at any moment. Not all would be deterred by clever tactics or calm smiles. Aaron walked up beside her, his expression serious but steady. "The patrol tonight may not be friendly," he said. "We prepare, but we do not panic." Leora's claws flexed. She had expected fear from these humans, but instead, She felt awe. They had faced threats smaller and larger than themselves, and had always found a way to endure. She also felt something new, protective instinct. For reasons she could not yet explain, she wanted to stand with them. Aaron continued. We have defenses in place, and every person knows their role. Remember what I said? Strength is in courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Leora nodded. I understand, and I will fight with you if needed. The words felt strange on her tongue. She had spent her life in the service of her own people, trained to dominate and conquer. Yet here, she found herself ready to protect beings she had once considered weak. A sudden rustling in the forest broke the silence. Shadows moved between the trees, and Leora's senses sharpened instantly. She recognized the figures before Aaron could speak. A squad of Zereth Dominion soldiers emerged, armed and confident. Their expressions expected to intimidate, maybe even crush the settlement. They did not know that these humans had learned to stand. Aaron stepped forward calmly. We are ready, he said to Leora. Observe, plan, and act with courage. That is our strength. The humans moved quickly, but calmly. Children and elderly were guided to safe zones. Adults prepared traps, barricades, and clever distractions. Not a single person panicked. Leora's mind analyzed every movement. The humans were not fighting with weapons alone. They were fighting with intelligence, coordination, and bravery. One soldier advanced aggressively, pointing a weapon toward a young woman gathering supplies. But before he could act, another human stepped forward and cleverly used a pulley system to drop a net in his path, tangling him without causing harm. Leora's eyes widened. She had never seen humans handle a threat this way. Bravery was one thing, cleverness another, but together. It created something extraordinary. The Zereth soldiers tried to push forward, but every attempt was met with careful resistance. Humans blocked paths, guided them into harmless traps, and used the terrain to their advantage. Their movements were precise and coordinated, showing foresight and understanding that rivaled trained warriors. Leora's mind raced. She realized that the human strength did not lie in brute force, but in their ability to think under pressure, to adapt, and to act together. She also realized that her presence could tip the balance. The Dominion soldiers respected her authority, and if she chose, she could protect the humans directly. The first clash occurred at the northern barricade. A soldier tried to break through, expecting the humans to scatter. Instead, two adults quickly redirected him into a muddy pit while keeping their own safety in mind. He struggled, frustrated, and realized he had underestimated his opponents. Leora stepped forward decisively. Enough, she commanded, her voice cutting through the tension. She held her claws high, not to attack, but to assert control. Leave now, or you will be stopped. The soldiers hesitated. A Zereth warrior standing alone with calm authority and confidence was enough to give even their most aggressive members pause. They had expected fear from the humans, not a Zereth ally ready to defend them. Aaron looked at Leora, silently acknowledging her choice. She had made a decision that no one expected. She was standing with the humans. The squad leader finally signaled retreat. The soldiers stepped back, confused and wary. They had planned to intimidate, to assert dominance, perhaps to destroy, but instead they faced humans who acted with intelligence, courage and strategy, and a Zereth warrior who protected them. Humility, respect, and fear mingled in their expressions as they withdrew. The humans did not cheer, nor did they gloat. They simply returned to their tasks, ensuring safety, repairing minor damage, and checking on one another. Leora watched in quiet admiration. The calm confidence of these humans was astonishing. She realized that courage did not always roar, often whispered, steady and unshakable. Aaron approached her again. They will return, he said. Others may come, but the lesson remains: we survive because we prepare, we act with courage, and we support one another.
Leora nodded.
I see now. Your strength is not in muscle, weapons, or fear. It is in mind, heart, and unity. And that is why you endure. The humans worked through the evening, rebuilding and fortifying the settlement. Leora assisted where she could, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The humans accepted her presence, treating her as an ally rather than a threat. She felt a strange warmth, a sense of belonging she had never known among her own people. A child approached, holding a small wooden model of a human and a Zereth warrior. "This is us," the child said proudly. "Working together." Leora smiled slightly, a rare expression for her. She knelt to the child's level. "Yes," she said softly. "Together, you are strong. You are brave. You endure." As night fell, the settlement glowed under the twin moons. Humans gathered around the fires again, sharing stories and laughter, despite the day's dangers. Leora stood quietly, observing, reflecting on the events. She had expected to assert authority, to see fear, and to confirm the humans' weakness. Instead, she had witnessed resilience, courage, intelligence, and kindness in action. Humans had faced a real threat and had survived without surrendering to panic or violence. Aaron stood beside her, watching the settlement with quiet pride. "Do you understand now?" he asked. "Humans survive not because we are strongest, but because we do not give up. We face fear with courage, act with intelligence, and protect one another." Leora's mind absorbed his words. She realized that the humans had not only survived the threats, they had taught her a lesson she had never imagined. Strength could come in unexpected forms. Courage could be quiet, yet unshakable. Cooperation could overcome danger where force alone might fail. For the first time, Leora felt a true sense of purpose alongside another species. She was no longer an observer, nor merely a protector by duty. She was part of something greater, a community that thrived not through fear, but through bravery, intelligence, and unity. Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. "Tomorrow will bring new challenges. Other species will come, but we will face them as we always do together. And now, you understand what makes humans different, powerful, in ways that are not obvious at first glance." Leora nodded slowly. She looked around the settlement once more. Children laughed, adults worked efficiently, and every life seemed connected by invisible threads of care, courage, and resilience. She realized that she could no longer think of humans as weak or expendable. They were extraordinary in ways her people had never recognized. The stars shone above the valley, cold and distant, yet the warmth of the settlement radiated below. Leora understood now that fear was not always the measure of strength. Sometimes, strength was patience, courage, intelligence, and the will to never give up even when the odds seemed impossible. For the humans, every smile, every act of kindness, every careful decision was a victory in itself. And for Leora, every moment spent observing and learning from them was a revelation. She had expected fear. Instead, she had witnessed courage, ingenuity, and unity. And she had chosen to stand with them, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The night deepened, and the settlement remained safe, strong, and alive. Leora knew this was only the beginning. Challenges would come again, perhaps greater than any before, but she was ready. She had learned the human way, the way of survival, courage, and quiet strength, and she understood one undeniable truth. Humans were not weak. They were powerful in ways that could change the galaxy itself. The morning dawned crisp and clear over the human settlement. The twin suns rose together, casting soft golden light over the valley. Commander Leora stood at the edge of the camp, watching the humans begin their day with calm efficiency. After the previous night's confrontation, the settlement had strengthened their defenses, repaired minor damage, and ensured that all members young and old felt safe. Aaron approached, carrying a small crate of supplies. "Today may bring challenges," he said, his tone calm but serious. "We must be ready for anything." Leora nodded. She had expected to simply observe humans, to see their weaknesses, and report back to the Dominion. But now, after witnessing their courage, intelligence, and cooperation, she knew her mission had changed. She was no longer an outsider. She was part of their survival, part of their strength. The humans were already moving efficiently. Teams of adults repaired structures, while others gathered food and water. Children practiced coordination exercises under the guidance of older members, Every action was purposeful, yet calm. Leora noticed the rhythm, the natural order of humans working together as a community. Suddenly, a scout ran into the clearing, breathless but determined. "Sir?" Another group is approaching from the east. A larger Dominion patrol this time. Leora's instincts kicked in. She expected panic, but none came. The humans paused only to listen, then immediately moved to organize themselves. Aaron raised a hand to gather everyone's attention. "Listen carefully," he said. "We will face them as we always do. Together, with intelligence, courage, and teamwork. No one acts alone." Leora's claws flexed, but she felt calm rather than tense. She had seen these humans face threats before, and they had always found a way to endure. She realized she had learned more from them than she ever could have learned from her own training. The patrol emerged from the eastern forest, armed and ready. The soldiers expected fear, hesitation, or disorganization, but they found none. Instead, the humans had already prepared clever traps, barricades, and safe zones for the vulnerable. Every human knew their role. Every movement had a purpose. The first encounter happened near a narrow bridge over a small stream. A Dominion soldier charged forward, expecting to intimidate, but a team of humans quickly lifted a hidden gate, guiding him into a shallow pit. The trap was harmless, but it stopped him effectively. Leora watched closely. Humans did not strike with unnecessary force. Instead, they used strategy, observation, and timing. Each action was calculated, not cruel. The human strength lay in intelligence and cooperation, not aggression alone. Aaron moved through the camp, directing humans calmly. Leora followed, ready to intervene if needed. She was amazed by how naturally the humans coordinated. Each person seemed to know instinctively what to do, anticipating the patrol's movements before they even happened. A small group of children appeared at a safe distance, observing quietly. Leora remembered when she had first arrived, they had shown no fear, even during the earthquake in the first Dominion patrol. Now, even under the threat of a larger attack, they remained calm. Protected by the older humans, the Dominion soldiers advanced again, attempting to intimidate. But the humans responded intelligently. Some distracted the soldiers with decoys, while others used ropes, pulleys, and barriers to redirect them harmlessly away from the settlement. One clever tactic involved guiding the soldiers into a field of soft mud, where they became stuck and frustrated but unharmed. Leora felt something she had never experienced before: pride. Not her own, but pride in the humans she had once underestimated. She had expected fear, but the humans had faced danger with courage, ingenuity, and calm. They had survived where others might have failed. One soldier tried to sneak past the defenses, aiming for the storage area. Leora moved decisively, stepping between him and the humans. Her presence, combined with her authority, stopped him instantly. "Leave now," she commanded. "You will not harm them." Soldier hesitated, then realized that his small team was being outsmarted not only by humans, but by a Zareth warrior standing with them. Slowly, carefully, he signaled his squad to withdraw. The humans remained calm. They did not celebrate or gloat. Instead, they returned to their tasks, checking on each other and ensuring that everyone remained safe. Leora observed this, understanding the quiet power of their community. Strength was not always loud. It could be measured in courage, intelligence, and care. Aaron approached her once more. "You see now," he said, "humans survive not by dominating, but by enduring, by thinking, and by helping one another. That is what makes us strong." Leora nodded slowly. "I understand now. Humans are not weak. They are brave, clever, and resilient. I misjudged you at first." Aaron smiled, a calm and proud smile. "Many do. That is why we must show them not just fight, but live and survive. That is how we earn respect." The remainder of the day passed without further incident. The settlement repaired damage, strengthened defenses, and practiced emergency drills. Leora assisted willingly, lifting heavy beams, moving debris, and offering guidance where her experience could help. The humans treated her as an ally, not a stranger. and she felt a sense of belonging she had never experienced among her own people. As evening fell, the humans gathered around the fires once more. Children laughed, adults shared stories, and everyone reflected quietly on the day's challenges. Leora stood on the edge of the gathering, watching, learning, appreciating the human way of living and surviving. A young girl approached, holding a small basket of fruit. "For you," she said softly, offering it with trust and kindness. Leora accepted it, feeling gratitude. "Thank you," she said, softly but sincerely. It was a small gesture, but it symbolized everything she had learned. Humans were strong not because they struck first, but because they cared, endured, and worked together. Aaron joined her, placing a hand lightly on her shoulder. "Tomorrow, we will face new challenges. But today, you have seen the truth. Strength comes in many forms, and courage is more than physical power." Leora nodded. She had expected to see fear, to witness weakness, and perhaps to assert dominance. Instead, she had seen courage, intelligence, cooperation, and kindness. And she had chosen to stand with humans, not because she was ordered to, but because she wanted to. As the stars rose over the valley, Leora felt a deep sense of respect for the humans. They had faced every threat natural and sentient with courage and cleverness. They had smiled in the face of fear, acted with intelligence, and endured when others might have failed. For the first time, she understood that humans were extraordinary. Not in obvious ways, but in ways that truly mattered. They were small, yes, and physically weaker than many species, but their minds, hearts, and unity made them powerful in ways the galaxy often overlooked. The settlement was alive with quiet energy. Children played under the watchful eyes of adults. Fires burned safely, casting warm light. Conversations were calm, yet filled with life. Leora stood among them, feeling not as an observer, but as part of the community. Aaron spoke softly beside her. "You understand now why we smiled when you arrived. Fear does not control us. We act, we endure, and we survive. That is human strength." Leora's eyes softened as she looked at the humans around her. "Yes," she whispered. "I understand now. Humans are not weak. They are strong in ways I never imagined. And they inspire strength in others like me." The night grew quiet, peaceful, and safe. Leora knew that challenges would come against other species, natural threats, or unforeseen dangers. But she also knew that the humans would face them as they always had, with courage, intelligence, and unity. And she would stand with them. For the first time in her life, Leora smiled not as a commander of a dominant species, but as an ally, a protector, and a witness to true strength. The human settlement thrived, glowing under the twin moons. The laughter of children, the calm work of adults, and the quiet resilience of every life in the valley created a force that could not be ignored. Leora had expected fear, but the humans simply smiled. And that smile had earned respect not only from her, but from the galaxy itself. The human way was clear: survive, endure, and face fear with courage, kindness, and intelligence. And in that truth, the humans had changed everything.